Hey everyone, earlier today at Oakland News Now, I posted really this morning a 2,300 word blog entry entitled Rebecca Kaplan Blocks Oakland Libby Schaaf's Attempt to have the Oakland A's buy the Coliseum. Now, technically, the block really applies to the county of Alameda, which has wanted for some time now to sell its 50% share of the Coliseum to the city of Oakland. The mayor saw this as an opportunity to have a more streamlined effort to build the stadium for the Athletics. But the A's had another idea. What happened was that the Athletics were granted an exclusive negotiating agreement approximately 2 years ago on not one, but two large properties. The first one, Howard Terminal, next to Jack London Square, technically part of Jack London Square, and the other, the Coliseum itself, primarily the stadium, as opposed not the arena. The idea was for the A's to basically choose either the Coliseum for the site for its new ballpark or Howard Terminal. Well, what the A's did was diabolical genius. They selected both of them. And the reasons they did so have to do with something called the baseball village concept and the expense of building what was originally presented to be a privately financed facility. Baseball village concept basically says, hey, I will build or allow to be built other land uses, other real estate on this gigantic section of property, say between 70 and 120 or 238 acres or more. And I will use the revenue from all of those buildings that I own or partially own or own the land on and received money from the sale of that land toward the construction of my stadium. St. Louis did that in 2002 in the case of their baseball village, and Stan Kroenke, the owner of the Los Angeles Rams and four other internationally known sports teams, is doing it in Inglewood with his Los Angeles Sports and Entertainment Center. Well, what Dave Kaval, the A's president, envisioned basically was using the Coliseum land as the fuel for the money, or at least a good portion of it, that roughly $400 million that would be poured into a stadium at Howard Terminal. But when he did that, Dave Kaval didn't bank on the idea the California legislature would allow, with flying colors, the installation of a tax increment financing district at Jack London Square. To make a long, detailed semi-story short, or sub-story short, that tax increment financing zone, which originally was designed in 2010 as part of a study that was written by Gruen and Gruen for the Let's Go Oakland ballpark organization, ballpark group, was made to be applied to the current plan. And if you use the most conservative tax increment revenue calculations for that area, the A's would come away with over $400 million. Actually, that came close to $500 million. And in actual practice, it's fair to say that they would gain $600 million from a tax increment financing zone over a 40-year bond period at Jack London Square. Bottom line, the A's don't need the Coliseum. They can leave it alone. But what the A's did in forming this dual area plan was completely ignore the Coliseum area specific plan that was done originally to lay the groundwork for a new town in town that included new stadiums for the Athletics and the Raiders, and an upgraded home for the Golden State Warriors, as well as a fantastic neighborhood, again, a new town in town. But after going through so many developers to try to make that happen, depending on who you talk to, it's still a dream. But what is reality is that rather than oppose the Athletics' desire to use both properties, the mayor allowed them to move forward because it fit into her plan for basically wanting the County of Alameda out of the way, and also the County of Alameda's desires as well. In steps Rebecca Kaplan, who, and I say rightly, reminded everyone of the obligations, legal obligations that were installed to follow through with the exploration of development, of a development that would call for affordable housing, offices, shops, community benefits, something kind of like Coliseum City. That was the idea. So there are people who are upset that Libby was trying to do this. There may be some people upset with Rebecca, but I will tell you this. The main problem is that we don't have an organizational plan for sports economic development. The mayor, I've said this before and I'll say it again, should have established a task force on this long ago for all of the sports teams, which would signal an emergency. She did not do that. Sports in Oakland has been handled in a piecemeal fashion, and this is not to let the Oakland Raiders off the hook in terms of the way they handled their situation, nor is it to allow anyone to believe that the Golden State Warriors were right in their moves, which should not have ever been done with respect to what they could have had in Oakland with a downtown arena or with a refurbished arena at the Coliseum. I'm not saying that they're not doing well at Chase. I'm not saying that Chase Center isn't a much needed facility. And I'm certainly not saying Chase Center is not a legacy of the late, great San Francisco Mayor Ed Lee. It is all of those. Ed Lee saw an opportunity. He saw the leadership weakness in Oakland. And he didn't stop to think about it. He acted. So, by contrast, we in Oakland don't have elected officials who are willing to act, except to stop each other. And yeah, that's a criticism of the system. And even though I agree with what Rebecca did, the simple fact of the matter is we're looking at a possible situation where the A's may say, okay, well, we're just going to go on to Portland. Given the fact that the A's have not been great community players on this new stadium, I'm starting to think, while that would be very undesirable, that we need to figure out ways to make them play by the rules in Oakland, to make the A's respect the fact that we have the specific plan. We have these efforts to create a great sports-oriented economic development project at the Coliseum and at Howard Terminal. The A's should let the Coliseum go, but assist the city of Oakland in redeveloping the Coliseum with respect to the coming great opportunities presented in sports gaming and gambling. Subscribe to Zenny62 on YouTube and bookmark oaklandnewsnow.com, zenny62.com, and oaklandnewsonline.com, Oakland's only blog aggregator.